It's episode 134. And in this episode, Bree left us and what, Sam?
I'm just shaking my head that Bree's gone.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor, and I'm joined by my co-host, Sam. You're listening to No Limits, a PlayStation podcast, episode 134. Remember, you can find the video version of this podcast over on youtube.com/SaveTheGameMedia every Tuesday. And while you're over there, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you'd rather listen to audio, we are on all your favorite podcast services. We would love it if you'd leave us a review. It helps us grow, and we would love your feedback. If you want to support us making all this creative content, please head over to patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia, also to get early access, and choose the tier that's right for you, just like our current patrons did. Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Nikolai Knight, Brendan Myers, Marcus Lillian, David Hodright, Dave Hart, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Lena Barr, Sil Cannon, Elliot Woods Parker III, Chadwick Davis, and Dinglebamp. Also, please interact with us in the Discord. Links are all in the show notes. Sam, you have a nice looking hoodie, sweater, swooty, hooder.
Swoody. Hooder. Hooter is some may say.
Hooter.
I don't even know what you would clarify this as. It's like a very, very lightweight, very sort of baggy, like almost like one of those wearable towels, almost. But it's not meant to be a towel. It's just like a comfy, like a. Is it a snood? Is that a thing? I don't know. Maybe.
Sneed.
I feel like no snood.
Sneed, seed, and feed.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
Formerly Chucks. You haven't seen that episode of The Simpsons, Sam? Yes, you have.
I have.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, it's very comfortable. I am sort of fully clothed underneath it. Don't worry, but like I just have something. It's a bit chilly here in old Great Britain, so just comfortable. I can't remember if you asked me how I am, but I'll answer it because that's what we do here. I'm pretty good. I am exhausted with work. I'm really not enjoying this project. Which, there have been a few that I haven't enjoyed before, but this one is just not vibing with me at all. And it's very convoluted and very complex. So that makes it that much worse. I think, like, logically, I should be close-ish to the finishing line, but it's still not quite in sight yet. So I'm sort of lost in very choppy waters at the moment. That being said, though, I'm good overall. I had a spontaneous, impromptu couple of days getaway down to Cornwall in the southwest, which is down on the coast.
Right.
Yeah, that was a very unlike me thing to do, but I just sort of bit the bullet and decided to do it. And I had a lovely couple of days relaxing and unwinding, getting some fresh sea air, fish and chips, all the classic stuff. Love to see it.
Yeah, it's still quite a ways from where you usually are, right?
Yeah, it's between 2.5 and 3 hours. But it wasn't too bad. We sort of managed to avoid all the heavy traffic rush hours and things like that. We planned accordingly, and it was relatively smooth. So
Exeter's on the way. It
is
a decisive, I shouldn't say decisive, important place when I was reading Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
It's where did I forget his name already? Hawkins. What is Hawkins's first name? Oh, Hawkins. No, geez, I'm so bad at this, Sam. Harker, Jonathan Harker's home from Dracula is in Exeter.
There you
There you
go.
Cool. Yeah. So
Yeah,
did you go in the
so
water? Sorry.
no. It's far too cold for that. Not that I would have minded going in, but it's sort of like it's around the time of year where if I expose myself to a lot of things, I have a tendency to get ill around this time of year. And I was like, I could risk it, but I kind of want to be in relatively good health.
Right. It's March. My saying.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, tropical waters, famously around Britain, nice and warm all year long.
Oh, right. Yeah, with a dry suit on.
Yeah, and even then,
Right. Even then, yeah.
So yeah, nice and refreshed after that. But I feel the energy that I've regained has already
Great.
waned in the few days since. So
Yeah. So it's pretty close to. Yeah, maybe I'll go out that way in your truck, Sam.
it's very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice drive around the coastal towns.
See, the unfortunate thing about Euro Truck Sim, Sam, is the first map they made for that game when it came out in 2013 was the UK. So they've made much more high fidelity DLC over the past 12 years. So the UK is just lagged, fortunately. But it's due for a facelift in the base game. So,
And in real life as well, let's be honest.
wow. Sam, there must be new construction in Britain somewhere. That's not the London metropolitan area.
Yeah, I think we've just figured out how to make bricks here. So we're going to be upgrading real soon.
How common is the trope that like every house in Britain is at least 70 years old?
More common than you might think.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough, Sam.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, my house, Sam, that I grew up in was actually only about, from when we moved there, it was about 80 years old. Then there was an addition to the front of the house. Yeah. So
nice.
Anyway, you asked me how I am, Sam, not just how old my house is.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay. As we discussed in the pre-show, work's been pretty tough over the past few days. And I hope what's going on blows over, but it's affected me personally, unfortunately. So I've been doing better, and I hope this time a month from now I still have my job. I'll just say that. I'm probably totally overblowing it, but
hard not to, though.
I don't know. It's hard not to. I'm sure you have a lot of useful tips for not going into anxious fits over things, Sam.
No, not really.
Yeah,
even though I experienced plenty of them, you know.
You and Bree are just a swirl of anxiety, aren't we?
Yeah.
Is there one of us? I think Kevin is too, and Kyle. I'm convinced that no one who's into games doesn't have anxiety or depression.
I'd be surprised, yeah. I would definitely think that it's far more common than not.
Then again, who doesn't have some anxiety, you know?
Right.
Anyway, so yeah. Oh yeah, what do you? Yeah, you said you're working on a project. Is it one specific game that's in your project, Sam?
Yes.
Okay.
One specific game.
And when can you talk about it?
Soon. Yeah, soon.
Okay.
Ish. Over the next few weeks, I'll be able to say something. So.
All right, Sam. I'm gonna make a guess. It's Assassin's Creed Shadows right here.
If you say so.
Actually, what games are coming out over the next few weeks? Upcoming games. We got it's definitely Kabeddy Cube. That already came out. Wait, no, if it was Shadows, you would have been able to talk about it already. It can't be Shadows. Ignore me. So let's see what games are coming out according to IGN. Wreckfest 2 just came out. Xenoblade came out. You don't do Nintendo anyway. Oh, it's definitely Breakout Beyond. Oh, I'm gonna make a guess. It's Adamfall. Yep.
Okay.
Wait, didn't the Adamfall embargo also already release? Yeah, it already. No, it can't be Adamfall. That embargo is lifted. What else? What? It's not so funny, Sam. It's not Picross S, Doraemon, and F Characters Edition.
It's obviously Bloodborne 2, Taylor, let's be honest.
Let's shut up. So actually, when was Bloodborne 10th anniversary? March 20. Tomorrow from time of recording is the 10th anniversary of Bloodborne. Cope, Sam. Cope. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you could possibly be playing, Sam.
I'll see.
Yeah, I guess I will. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I've been like I discussed in the pre-show. I've been playing God of War 1, or I should say, the official name is God of War, but 2005. And I had to turn down the difficulty to too easy, as I discussed in the Discord. I started the game on hard, thinking I can handle the challenge, and some of the pacing was just. I thought some of the balancing was just not good. I was spending an hour on fights trying to just doing chip damage because it didn't really feel like a Souls type experience either. I've beaten Bloodborne and all its DLC. All right, I can beat hard games, but this just did not feel like a well balanced action game to be playing on hard, unless it was like a specific challenge run. Definitely not for a first playthrough.
No.
So I would have turned it down to normal if that function existed for God of War. But unfortunately, the only way to lower the difficulty is by dying. I think it's 5 or 10 times. Then the game asks you if you want to switch to easy mode. And then it'll stay that way for the rest of the playthrough. So long as you save after that switch was performed. So now things are a bit too easy. So I think maybe for me, normal might have been the best place. But here we are. I think there's still depth for me to learn in terms of the combat, like doing combos that aren't just square, square, triangle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the game is decent so far. That's up. And like I said in the pre-show, without running into spoilers for listeners, and yes, I am cognizant of spoilers on a 20-year-old game. I am just got through a desert to a tomb. So there you go. I don't know if tomb's the word. Got through a desert into a desert building. So that's what's happened most recently in the game. And yeah, on our way to try to go kill Ares is the main objective. For 2005 games, some of these wide shots of Ares just destroying Greece are pretty impressive from a scale-wise, because the series has always had the element of scale on its side, and it's still showing that in the first title. But yeah.
Yeah.
Let me think what else. Yeah, like I said before, the combo system is very good for a game that's 20 years old. I guess God of War not only paved the way for, I guess, how Sony would. Let me frame it this way. I think it was definitely influential on hack and slashes that came after it. Probably inspired by DMC, and that was an evolution. I don't know if evolution is the word, but that was certainly a take on it. But yeah, good time so far. Like I said, decent. Hope it gets better as narrative advances. And yeah, Sam, you told me I should be in it for the story, so here I am.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, for like with the intention of eventually getting to Valhalla,
Yes, that is the goal.
you realistically do only need to have played 3, really, because 3 does like encapsulate a lot of the prior stuff, and gives you context and whatnot. But I feel like if you want to comprehensively enjoy Valhalla, you do kind of want to have been on the whole journey. So, the PSP games aside, I think that you can do them and they are good games, but I don't think you need to play them first before going to Valhalla because they aren't really touched upon. So,
Gotcha. Sorry, my mic was muted. Yeah, Sam, on sorry, on Talk Studio right now, your window is transparent for me.
oh, well, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna try this. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I might just be talking to myself. It would, if you watch the video version, it might just seem like I'm talking to myself, but at least you should be able to hear Sam. Yeah.
I am here ethereally.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. The plan after that would be finish God of War 1, go to God of War 2 on normal mode, and then Valhalla. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if it's on the show notes for, no, it's not on our show note list, but I'll mention it here. Sony's been doing more God of War 20th anniversary celebrations, and they released a tribute video, and I scrubbed through the video, not knowing that apparently there were spoilers for Valhalla.
I did. I mean, that is the first thing I said to you.
Right. So I saw you say that afterwards, but when I scrubbed through it so fast, I didn't really even notice what was going on. I was just like, oh yeah, it's going through the first 2 games and whatever, and then video. And so I scrubbed through the video, but I didn't actually get anything spoiled.
Okay,
I just
good.
did a very brief 5-second. Oh, what is this kind of like? Was there a Greek God of War announcement? So I just kind of scrubbed to the end to see if there was anything. And I didn't. Obviously, there wasn't a Greek God of War collection announcement.
No.
And yeah, you're teasing you, Sam. Teasing. Artisan. Well,
teasing.
Yep.
Yes. I mean, I can't really say that I've been playing much of anything because the only thing I've played over this past week is the game I can't talk about. So
yeah, I know, Sam. It is Atelier Yuma DLC.
I've been waiting for it for years.
Yeah, if you haven't started Wonder Stop yet, wait, yes, you have, maybe.
Yeah, I have. I just haven't played any of it in the past week.
Gotcha. Everyone in the reviews on Steam keeps saying the game is about burnout and stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a cozy adventure.
No, it is. It is about burnout.
No, it's a cozy adventure.
I mean, it's a cozy adventure about burnout.
Cozy, burnout. I mean, adventure. Shit.
Yeah, all 3 of those things.
Yeah, Undertale was on sale for $1 in the Steam sale, and I just didn't purchase it for some reason.
You silly goose.
Yeah. Sam, have you played Undertale?
I have. I've platinumed Undertale.
So why don't you play Earthbound?
Because it's not Undertale.
What is Toby Fox doing nowadays? Deltarune's out, Undertale's out. What's he doing next?
Isn't there still more Deltarune stuff coming? I feel like that's still something he's doing.
Oh, apparently. But wasn't Deltarune free? Am I making that up?
Well, I think a Deltarune thing was free. But then he started releasing like chapters of things. I don't know.
Dude, Toby Fox is only 33. Dang. What a life. Just like hitting her big break at the age of when did Undertale come out? 2015.
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, he was 23 years old. This game came out.
There you go.
He's probably set for life at this point, right?
Probably.
Let's look at it. Undertale estimated total revenue. According to Steam revenue calculator, so this is Steam only, Toby Fox would have made about $3.2 million before taxes.
Not bad.
And that's just, yeah, between other platforms, probably Switch, right? You're looking at PS4, PS5, Xbox. Insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll stop fantasizing about hitting a big break in the indie game scene, Sam. We got some news this week. First story, Astro Bot, the game that I've played many times now, sold more than 2.3 million copies. According to Reese Elliott at Alinea Analytics.
Mm-hmm.
So they estimate that copies sold and lifetime players on a daily level show that Astro Bot finally crossed the 2 million milestone back in January. And the game sales began to stabilize after hitting 1.5 million in November. The Game of the Year went on December 12th, gave the game a second wind. And it generally did not hit mainstream appeal. It was relegated to single-player-centric PlayStation fans like you or myself. And the U.S. markets have the most share of Astro Bot players at 29%. But China is the number 2 market by distribution at 13.1%. And China accounts for more than twice of the number 3 market for Astro Bot, which is the UK at 6.4%. And so, yeah, PlayStation's promotion experiments in China for the game paid off. This is pretty surprising considering PlayStation is the dominant platform in the UK, I thought, by a country mile.
It is.
Yeah. So population difference, I guess no censorship from the Chinese government, plus second largest world population will get you more sales, Sam.
Yeah, I guess like there could also, it seems like a very weird crossover, but maybe there is a cause and effect of a lot of PS5s being sold in China for Black Myth Wukong.
Oh,
and then being exposed to this game.
Yeah.
After that, I mean, I know they came out relatively close to one another, all things considered, but maybe there is something there as well as alongside the promotions you were saying. Yeah, I don't know. And I also don't know whether like the chibi-ness of Astro also appeals to that sort of Asian market a little bit more naturally than it might do the Western market.
Mm-hmm. Toph thinks so too.
Because they're all very, Nendoroidy, Funko-y type looking guys.
Would you say Nendoroidy?
Yeah.
What? What is Nendoroidy, Sam?
Isn't that what they're called? Isn't it Nendoroids?
What is a Nendoroid?
I feel like I'm
Wikipedia. Nendoroid is a series of plastic figures created by the Japanese Good Smile Company. So it's more like the chibi style.
Yeah, tiny little chibi things with big heads and big eyes.
Okay. Fair point.
Yeah, I mean that stuff is very popular in Asian markets, so I think that tangentially Astro Bot aesthetically kind of appeals to that as well. Maybe I am surprised that it's China has doubled the UK, but yeah, we obviously don't know exactly why. Plenty of factors though. Good for Astro Bot though. I mean, it was good news when it was 1.5 million, even though a lot of people tried to downplay it. But encroaching on 2.5 million for this, where it is ostensibly, shall we say, a new IP. If we sort of fully envelop everything, I know Astro Bot has been around for a long time, but this is really his penetration into the market in a more major way, not a free demo or a VR exclusive game. It's sort of a fully fledged platformer.
Right.
That's pretty good. And I think that is enough to celebrate. I mean, we said with 1.5 million that Astro Bot had easily made its budget back, but now you're just seeing profit upon profit, and I think that this number is enough for them to celebrate both Asobi and PlayStation generally. But they are now, I think, this month putting out that Astro Bot PS5 bundle as well, which you would assume that they're probably going to rope into the sales figures of the game in the same way that they have with like Horizon bundles. So that means that they will have, even if it's cheating slightly, they will have an even bigger number to boast about in the marketing of future Astro Bot products. So win-win.
There you go.
Win-win. Wow, I've lost the document. It's okay. Taylor, don't panic. The ship is still being steered. I'm finding it.
Steer me, Daddy.
I found it. So moving from one PlayStation first-party game to another, one that has yet to be released, Saros, the upcoming game from Housemarque, would not have been made if Housemarque stayed independent, their CEO says. So coming from Francesco De Meo at WCCF Tech, speaking with Finnish publication Helsingin Sanomat, apologies for butchering pronunciations here, Housemarque CEO Ilari Kutinen commented on the acquisition of the studio by Sony, saying that it had brought some cultural changes to the studio, such as having to conform to Sony's HR practices, but also more financial resources that have allowed the developer to move to new offices and effectively make Saros possible to begin with, as Housemarque would have never been able, as an independent studio, to invest as much as was needed for the development of the game, which entered full production, in 2022. While the game's budget hasn't been revealed, it is, according to Helsingin Sanomat, close to Alan Wake 2's budget of 70 million euros. Yeah, I mean, checks out, I think. Returnal was such a massive step up for Housemarque in terms of production quality, and obviously that was funded by PlayStation. If they weren't acquired and didn't receive funding again, there's no way they could have, with all respect to Housemarque, there's no way that they could have maintained that level independently, let alone sort of level up again, which you imagine and hope they're going to do with Saros. So, yeah, love to see it.
Love to see it.
I will say it's amazing. Like, I don't think we know what the budget for Returnal was. But if this estimation of Saras's budget is correct, that is like remarkably cheap. I know, like 70 million is.
It looks cheap to me.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, obviously, paying a workforce outside of high cost areas in the US is automatically cheaper. That's why you see a lot of development going on in Europe.
Even in Finland, it's that much cheaper.
Yeah. I mean, well, you make a game like Alan Wake 2 on 70 million, it's like, that's absurd. Because if Alan Wake 2 was a PlayStation first party game from one of their teams in the US, I guarantee that's like 200 million.
Sam, stop encouraging outsource. Well, the company's based in Europe. I mean, yeah.
So
no, I get you.
Yeah, it's just very impressive what they're able to do.
No, you're impressive.
No, you're impressive.
Yeah, Sam, this has really gotten me I can't say what I'm about to say without it making it sound weird.
Okay.
All this stuff with Saros is making me, after I finish Taylor's Quest to play everything. After I finish God of War 1 and 2 and Valhalla, I'm eyeing up that Death Stranding, but also eyeing up that Returnal. I want to come back to Returnal one day. Like I said before,
you would technically, if you're being logical about it, Death Stranding would be more prescient if you are intending on engaging at all with Death Stranding 2.
I am.
Whereas Saros is next year, and we don't know when next year. I would imagine early next year, first half for sure.
Whoa, you think it's that soon?
Yeah. I mean, they've announced it for 2026 already.
They give the release year?
Yeah. At the State of Play, where it was revealed. It's coming next year.
Yeah, but we don't even have any gameplay yet.
Well, we're getting a full gameplay reveal later this year, they said.
Okay. All right.
So that's probably like a September State of Play thing, maybe, or they do a dedicated State of Play. Maybe we see a little bit more of it if they do a summer showcase. That would be dope. But I imagine like a full-blown deep dive into systems and whatnot is warranted, especially if they're trying to make this a little bit more mass market than Returnal was. So, yeah, exciting times, Taylor. And I've said before, but whenever you do get around to it, if you want a co-op buddy, I'm going to be right there. So,
thank you, Sam. Yeah, too bad there's no 3-person co-op. Otherwise, me and Bree would have been a good group.
Well, me and Bree's nearly finished it, so.
But isn't there like a secret ending or something and blah blah blah? I don't know.
Okay, well, that is true. She's technically nearly finished the game. She hasn't. She will have to do a lot more to get 100% and secret endings and stuff. So.
Is that secret ending? Is this one of those secret endings where you should just? This is what I did for Arkham Knight. I just watched it on YouTube. Or is the labor worth the prize?
So without like spoiling anything, you go through all 6 biomes, beat all the bosses, you get an ending cutscene, and then something happens, as is the nature of the game, where you sort of like restart the run again.
Yeah, from biome 1.
Yeah, but there are new things that you have to look for. And you can technically, if you're lucky enough, do that just in one straight run, right from when you finish the game, boot up that initial run. And if you're lucky and get good weapon rolls and everything, you can just burst through and do it all. But you have to find these things in each of the biomes. And they are you've permanently acquired them once you found them. So it's not like you lose them if you die and you don't make it through. But once you have all of them from each biome, you can then do something that gives you the additional endings and cutscenes and things like that. But yes, I would say if you're playing it, you can just look it up after the fact.
So you have to go through the game again, and you have to meet all these conditions. And if you don't meet all these conditions on your next playthrough, then you don't get the secret ending.
No. I'm saying it is possible on this first rerun after finishing the game to do everything in one run if you're lucky.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, like, if you're lucky, so there's all these conditions to be met on the rerun that, if aren't met, you won't trigger the secret ending.
Well, no, but any subsequent run after that fact, you can try and do the same things again. So it's not like you get one shot, and if you don't make it, you don't get the secret ending.
Right, but you have to keep trying until all these special conditions are met on the rerun, and then you get the secret ending.
Yes. So you essentially have to, not from square one, you'll still have all your upgrades and abilities and stuff.
Okay.
But you just have to rerun the game again.
Do you think the secret ending was worth the effort?
I think so. I think there is a consensus. Well, I don't want to say consensus because I haven't looked that deeply into it. I feel that there is commentary out there that it's a little underwhelming, or they were expecting something a little bit different. But for me, the narrative of the main ending hit really hard, and the secret ending, additional cutscene stuff was like just icing on the cake. It wasn't like a whole new mind-blowing thing. It was just tying the bow that much neater, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Best game of this generation.
Best. What? What?
Yep. Yep.
No.
Yep.
Can't. It can't be the case now. Now it can't be that good.
Yep.
Better than Breath of the Wild.
I mean, that wasn't this generation.
Really. Oh my God, the Switch is in both generations.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of cheating though, isn't it? But also, yes, because it doesn't look like ass. So
Elden Ring, better than Elden Ring.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, better than God of War 28. That's not this generation. Certainly, if it's better than Ragnarok, that won't surprise me. Yeah, Ragnarok was good. All right, it was really good, but it wasn't.
I love
God of War
Ragnarok.
2018. Yeah,
it was just more of the great stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about warring over what's the best game of a generation. Maybe the biggest news of this week is Sony formed a new studio called Dark Outlaw Games with Jason Blundell. So former Treyarch co-studio head, Blundell was one of the lead creators of COD Zombies before he left Activision in 2020. He was there for 13 years. Then he would serve as one of the co-founders for Deviation Games. But Deviation did not get a chance to release its debut project, which was an original IP that was set to be PlayStation exclusive. Then in an interview with Jeff Gerstmann, Blundell confirmed that Dark Outlaw Games is, quote, staffing up and would have more to share the studio's first project in the future. So, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but Deviation's been dissolved, right? Or does it still exist? Or you just
yeah, that's a good question. I can't remember if it technically still exists, but if it does, it's like a husk.
Yeah. So, it closed last March. It was shut down, March 2024. Almost just about a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. Like, I mean, I listened to the interview, and Blundell said it himself. It's like Sony doesn't set up new first-party teams all that often. You know, they've acquired teams and teams that they've worked with, and they've done a few wild cards like Firewalk and Haven, but they don't build teams internally very often. They haven't done for a long time. So this is clearly investing a lot of faith into Jason Blundell. They must like what he was pitching. Whether it's the same essential pitch that was at Deviation before that collapsed, we actually don't know yet. It's possible. Or at least elements of what was to be the Deviation game is probably still alive. Yeah, it's something that there's not a lot of fanfare here, you know. It isn't some big PlayStation blog announcement. It isn't, you know, a tweet that goes out like welcoming Housemarque to the family, welcoming Bluepoint to the family. It's just Blundell saying, "Yep, I've got a new team, and this is what it's called." And in the interview, he said, like, the reason I'm doing it like this, and there's not really a lot of fanfare behind it, is that he wants it to be about the game and not the studio, which I think is maybe lessons learned from Deviation, where Deviation, you know, was announced, and it announced that it had the PlayStation partnership, and it did all this hullabaloo about the studio culture and how excited they were, and then nothing came of it. and they're gone now. So I think that he is, as he said, sort of working in the dark for the time being, and will properly step out and take the limelight when they actually have something to show. Which I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this. I kind of, and this is maybe like being far too optimistic, I kind of feel that we might actually see something relatively soon. Now that isn't like a full reveal or gameplay or anything, but like a conceptual teaser, I think might be possible this year if they're announcing, like just publicly acknowledging the studio now, considering they've been like an unofficial thing that we've technically known about for quite a while. Maybe they are not like ramping up marketing or anything, but just getting ready to say something. I don't know. What do you think?
Who knows? Who knows? What I know you're excited about. Or no, was this last week? And that was last week with the Killzone Infamous stuff, or Resistance stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was from this. Yeah, I don't know what to think. We'll just see what they show when they show it.
Yeah, I would imagine, considering the pedigree and the specific talent that not only of Blundell, but also the talent he poached from Deviation, and likely subsequently any additional talent that they have attracted, it's most likely going to be a shooter.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a shooter. Yeah,
highly likely to be a first-person shooter,
right?
And it's going to have multiplayer, whether it is a solely multiplayer live service title or it actually has, similar to a Call of Duty or something, some kind of campaign element. Considering Blundell is the guy who basically spearheaded the narrative element of Call of Duty Zombies, and Black Ops and all of this, I feel that there is a chance there that it isn't just a multiplayer thing, which would make it far more interesting to me automatically if there's a story I can play through.
Right. This could be another live service type experience. I mean, from the track record, campaign multiplayer. Now, what the actual premise is, who knows?
Yeah.
But it's pretty. I don't know if you're Sony. It's pretty bold investment to try to enter the multiplayer FPS market when, at least I hope they're not trying to directly compete with COD. Let me say that. In Battlefield.
Yeah.
Maybe something different. I mean, yes, I don't know what it'll be, but if it's I don't know. It's like I said, it's a hard space to break into because of the dominance of Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. So I'm very interested to see why does Sony think they want to spend these many resources on what Blundell has cooking.
Yeah. Yeah. Be interesting because, like, again, you look at them acquiring a team like Firewalk because they were a lot of ex Call of Duty and Bungie devs that clearly showed a lot of promise to a lot of people in Sony, and they liked what they saw with Concord, so they bought them outright rather than just partnering. This is slightly different because they're building the team, so it likely doesn't require as much upfront investment because there's no acquisition. But yeah, it's clearly still a risk, especially if, like we say, all indications would suggest they're entering that competitive market. I just hope that they have something, a USP, that they can use to build even a marginally sized audience that is going to make it viable. Going after the megaton straight away isn't the best idea. You more just want to try and scale something more in line with Helldivers, right? where you weren't ever building Helldivers to be this massive, massive thing. You want it to explode and then heavily invest after the fact, rather than the other way around, because that mitigates risk. So be interesting to see. They say they're still staffing up, but they have technically been a studio that have been working for a while now, at least probably about 2 years, because Blundell left Deviation before it closed down, and presumably automatically, sort of not immediately, but shortly thereafter went to PlayStation. So couple of years dev, maybe they can tease something just to get a bit of excitement. Depends, I guess, on what kind of shows PlayStation are wanting to put on in the short term, how much of a roadmap they're wanting to kind of establish. But suggestions might indicate that they are playing things and going to keep playing things close to the chest until closer to release. So maybe we don't see anything. Who knows?
Right.
Rounding out, Taylor. The last little story, little rumor. We have been talking the past week or two leading up to the 20th anniversary of God of War, which is now come and gone. And Jeff Grubb's rumor of God of War Greek Saga remaster collection happening around the 20th anniversary. He's now changed his opinion, presumably, apparently, with more information that he's learned. So Jeff Grubb is now saying that there is still a Greek God of War project coming out this year, but it is a side story rather than a remaster collection or a full mainline entry. So I do have it here. I'll just read the little blue sky thread that he's got written out.
Okay.
So responding to his initial thing where he said that the God of War remasters were likely to happen closer to the 20th anniversary, he replied to himself saying, okay, everyone keeps asking about this, so I've tried to find out more. There's still a Greek God of War thing coming out this year, but it is not a remaster collection. It's a new side story project. I was never told about a remaster collection, but I asked a source about the rumors, in brackets, that I saw were focused on a collection, and they told me that nothing God of War would happen at the State of Play, but something could show up at the anniversary. And then just to round out, a Blue Sky user replied to that saying, how do you know the new part is coming out this year? It's only been 3 years since the release of Ragnarok. I honestly think that if a new part of God of War comes out, it's 2 years from now at least. And then Grubb replied to that by simply saying, set your expectations lower. So again, suggesting it is a smaller side story, expand alone type game in the vein of a Lost Legacy or a Spider-Man Miles Morales. That's exciting. I speak for both of us and for the audience in general that we love remastered, remade, whatever Greek saga. But to know that there is something God of War happening, and it's not just a bit of DLC like Valhalla, it is an actual full-blown thing, even if it is smaller scale.
Right.
And it's going back to Greece. That's pretty cool. Seeing Greece in today's fidelity. Whew.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I wonder what. Like I said in episodes past, Sam, they still have a lot. I think I was harping on the big gap between the end of God of War 3 and God of War 2018. They did something there, and I wonder where in the timeline the side project takes place.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm struggling to wrap my head around, because going from I feel like as much as you could very easily tell a cool story in the interim between God of War 3 and 2018, I almost feel like filling in that gap kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I want to know.
I want
Like
to
I
know.
could be won over, but I sort of just feel like it's not. It doesn't seem from the outside with no context that that's like a super important story at this point to tell.
Right. Also, how do you approach crossing over mythologies? Is it just, the Doctor Strange multiverse portal type situation? Or is there some shift in is there some polytheistic mythological pantheon struggle happening between different types of mythologies? Greek, Norse, Japanese, Egyptian, and
Hmm.
I don't know, in some quest for mythological supremacy, Greece was the last standing before the Norse gods took over. But then how do you explain being in Athens versus being in Asgard? I guess I could see it'd be very tough through line to make. How do you do it without just making it a multiverse? I don't know.
And alongside that, you kind of have the states of both pantheons like pre-established.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have how the Greek pantheon and the Greek realm is left at the end of God of War 3, and you have the Norse saga as it has to exist at the beginning of 2018. So how much leeway does that allow you to do really interesting things with either mythology? I'm not certain on
I
that.
don't know. I mean, in God of War, the end of God of War 3, I think I can say this without spoilers, like Greece is toast after
Yeah,
Kratos
exactly.
goes through the first three games. And there's
So
nothing left but storms, darkness, and death, to be honest.
yeah, so let's play a little speculation, Taylor. Whilst we're here, why not? Let's have a little fun with it. If I had to like make a proposition on what this was going to be, keeping in mind it's like a smaller scale thing, I think there's three options that pop into my head. Either it is set in between 3 and 18, you play as Kratos, and there is some kind of story where you are trying to get out of the Greek realm and some other opposing pantheon attempts to subsume the Greek realm. So, you could say it is, like you say, Japanese or Egyptian, and somebody that pantheon tries to essentially stake claim on the now desolate Greek realm. So that doesn't step on the toes of the Norse saga, but it does introduce another pantheon that could make for something interesting. But that seems pretty big scale. That feels like a kind of thing you'd want in a bigger mainline game, even if it is telling a technically at this point prequel story. I also think that there is a chance that it is, I will do my best to avoid spoilers, where Kratos finds himself at the end of Ragnarok specifically, not Valhalla. I mean, Valhalla would play into this, but just for your sake and the audience's, even just where he is at the end of Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
There is a line of thinking that Kratos, with his, shall we say, renewed purpose, could himself post Ragnarok and technically Valhalla return to the Greek realm and try to, in some fashion, make amends in whatever way that looks like. Obviously, the pantheon is gone,
Yeah.
but helping maybe the Greek civilians who have tried to survive in this sort of desolate landscape that Kratos created.
Yeah. I guess who's still alive in the Greek mythos by the end of God of War 3? You at least have, maybe I'm wrong because I haven't finished God of War 1 and 2, but I feel like you should at least have a few Titans left
Mm-hmm.
in, yeah. Let me see.
And
Greek,
you'd have like some
some
demigods. You would
demigods.
probably have some lower. You'd have gods technically like Aphrodite, right?
Right.
And no, he's dead. I feel pretty confident, even though I'm not drawing any of them to the front of my mind, that there are not necessarily super prominent Greek gods, but plenty of Greek gods that haven't been encountered yet. And there's even technically some gods that you meet in like Chains of Olympus, and Ghost of Sparta for that matter, that could theoretically still be alive. So maybe it is a bit more full circle in that capacity.
Sorry, who would still be alive?
I mean, I'm not going to say, just for
Oh.
the sake of not spoiling
Okay.
the PSP games, but
Yeah, don't tell me.
yeah. So there's plenty of options there, and even if there weren't any gods left, it could just purely be he returns to the Greek realm to try and help the humans, the mortals.
You could get some Prometheus storyline in there. Prometheus took the fire from Olympus and gave it to the humans.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's some Titan. You get some room for taking the Titan's power. Well, then it's more Kratos maybe hurting people. I don't know. Somehow using the Titan's power maybe in a humanitarian way without hurting the Titans. Maybe it does end up killing the Titans to restore
the land. Yeah.
Restore the land to be fertile, prosperous, safe.
Yeah, which could be pretty cool as well. And I think that the third possibility, which I on the surface would be less excited for, but I think is certainly a possibility, considering especially again where Ragnarok ends. It could be a side story where you play as Atreus and go to visit where your father came from.
Oh, Atreus is cool, but I don't know if I want to play as Atreus for a whole game, dude.
Because the question, I guess, in some ways could align. I don't know. It's not really. It's not touched upon in the games. But are the Titans of the Greek realm the equivalent of the giants in the Norse realm?
I don't know enough about myth. Well, I guess you're saying at a narrative level, could they make that jump?
Yeah.
And then somehow Atreus has special access to communicating with the Titans.
Yeah, because that's sort of, again, without too many spoilers, that's almost Atreus's entire driving force throughout Ragnarok, right? Is his duty to the giants, right? With the marbles.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's trying to bring the giants back. So is there a way that he does that and finds a way to bring the giants back through the dead Titans? I don't know.
We also don't really know which Titans are dead besides, at least, I guess it's getting a spoiler territory, but I'd like to think there's at least some Titans that are still alive by the end of God of War 3.
I mean, there are certainly a whole lot of Titans climbing up Mount Olympus at the start of God of War 3.
You're right. Actually, that's true. Yeah.
So I think like a lot of the main ones are clearly dead, but that doesn't mean that there aren't a few of them that might have fallen down maybe, but didn't end up dying.
Yeah. Right.
There's certainly room for some exciting stuff there, and it should go without saying that I don't think Santa Monica has given us a reason to not have complete faith in them, to tell a well thought out and compelling story. And this I know I'm rambling, but like this is kind of what we want, right? Like smaller games, side stories, things that they can get out faster, that we aren't having to wait 5 years between installments, where if you can get at least some of your other like tentpole major teams to get at least a smidge closer to Insomniac's kind of output, that's ideal, right? Where you have smaller budgets, you can have more agile teams, you have a smaller development timeline, you fill out your release pipeline far more and you can still maintain and continue your IPs in authentic ways. So, we had Miles Morales, we had Lost Legacy for Uncharted. If we have a spin-off smaller thing for God of War, that means we could theoretically have the same for, Last of Us. Like we were saying, if Last of Us 3 isn't a thing, do Naughty Dog one day do that side story that they were talking about where they had an idea for something with Tommy, expand that out to every IP that Sony has, or not necessarily every IP, but a lot of them. I think that kills not just two birds with one stone, but several.
Right.
So I hope this is true for many reasons.
Agreed. Yeah, we'll see. I hope. Anyway. Yeah. Man, the opening God of War 3 is crazy.
Still holds up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Poseidon, everything through the Poseidon fight. It's not a spoiler, it's the opening fight. Deal with it in God of War 3. I guess it is in the first 20 minutes of the game, you are tasked with ending Poseidon. Anyway. Yeah. Don't
you think that's super interesting that like they put out God of War 2 after the PS3 was released?
I was thinking that yesterday, and I looked it up as to why they did that. And they said it was because the time God of War 2 released in the West, the PS3 only released 4 months prior, and they had 100 million player install base on PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
So that's why they did it. However, my retort would be, then why not do a concurrent release like Nintendo did with Breath of the Wild for the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch, or so many other games, the Wii U and the Wii and the GameCube. Well, I guess the Wii U and the GameCube were nowhere successful as the PlayStation 2 was. But I guess the point is, why not make it a concurrent release off the bat?
Well, I mean,
I guess for development time.
Corey did also say that like they knew the PS2 so intimately at that point that they didn't want to compromise on the vision of God of War 2.
Okay.
So they just wanted to be like, they wanted to have it be a swan song rather than something that was curtailed by new tech. And I would also point out like the obvious, that the the development kits for PS3 were fundamentally very, 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 very different to PS2. With cell processors and everything. So I think the hardware for PS2 versus the hardware for PS3 were very, very different beasts. So I think that, and that's probably why it took so long for
good point.
I guess technically that's not
God
correct.
War 3
I was going to say
came out 3 years later, so
Yeah, exactly. So and it is still holding up now.
Yes.
All these years later. That's for 15 years. Jesus Christ.
We're young, Sam. We're still young.
I remember the day that game came out.
Oh, I don't, because I wasn't old enough to play it.
Oh, that didn't stop me.
My parents. Don't worry, Sam. I got around that when GTA 5 came out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, and interesting legacy. Late console release games, like in the Super Nintendo days. I think Kirby's Dream Land was released in 1993 for the NES. Super Nintendo released 2 years earlier. Kirby's Dream Land. Sorry, 1992. And the SNES was already released for, I think, a year. So, no, almost 2 years. Or a year and a half from the time that game released. So, yeah. No, weird stuff like that happens. But
yeah. A question before we wrap up. Okay. Regardless of what this side project ends up being, if it is if it is real, do you think that even though it's a side project and it may or may not be returning to or set in Greece. Do you think that they take the opportunity during this side project in the interim between mainline games to introduce or at the very least tease the next Pantheon specifically?
I mean, in the game or just some like social media, like some point
In the game.
I could see them doing that. It would be a good lure to play the game if they advertise it as in their marketing materials, you know, do this, play this journey of in God of War where, you know, they give you the high level synopsis of you play this character and do this. And then say later on in the promotional material, let's say it's a trailer, and also find where the series goes next. Now, even if they did that, the second the game came out, it would be all over the internet of where the game's going next.
Of course.
So, like, I'm not just talking like, you know, it would be unavoidable from even just a gaming news perspective. So, maybe the most tactful way to do it is if you're PlayStation, just say, here's a new game. Here's a high level overview. Here's the next Pantheon. Just say that in like a PS blog post and don't give any details and just say, we're going to the Egypt Pantheon of gods. And in this side story, somehow you'll get a sneak peek into the beginnings of that narrative or the setup of that narrative.
Interesting.
Kind of a carrot and stick approach. And I mean, use it as part marketing strategy, but also, yeah, also, I guess that would mainly be for marketing. Unless Santa Monica finds a really creative way to put in the threads in the next game without it seeming forced, like I said, like a lure.
Yeah.
So they could. I think they just have to do it because they want to, not because they feel like they have to.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel relatively similar. I think it would, in my eyes, probably be a missed opportunity if they didn't introduce to whatever extent where we were going next. But I feel if they, kind of feel if they did that, they might even be better served to not say anything about it and just have people stumble upon it. Because I feel like God of War has that cachet as an IP, and that sort of like not necessarily global presence, but you know, sort of market presence generally that word of mouth would build, and then after the fact, once the game's out and been around for a little while, you can then start teasing and maybe then give it a second wind. In sales of people who hadn't jumped on the bandwagon or for whatever reason hadn't seen or heard anything about this out of nowhere reveal in the game. But yeah, I think, you know, it sounds harsh language, but I kind of feel like they'd be dumb not to, if not fully introduce some element of the next Pantheon, just like tease a character or have a god from the Pantheon show up very briefly. Or, you know, if it is, for example, like an Atreus game, let's say that like Fenrir rips open one of his realm tears and Atreus goes through or gets pushed through in a fight or whatever, and he's all of a sudden somewhere else, and this somewhere else is the new Pantheon, you know, very heavily, clearly indicating what it is, and then he's pulled back out. Even just something like that, I think is enough if you aren't wanting to go whole hog. Just, yeah, I guess that depends on how far out the next mainline game is.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I don't expect the next mainline game to be here till PS6, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, because you would imagine, I mean, yes, it's by default, I think at this point, going to be Corey's game next, the new IP from them after this side project, whatever.
Right.
and then you would assume they jump back into God of War. I don't think they'd want to let it rest for like a couple of consecutive games between mainline installments. So they're probably honestly in some form of very early pre-production on the next mainline God of War.
Yeah. Right. Writing the story. Maybe.
Yeah. The outlines or whatnot, especially with the show seemingly gearing up to get ready as well. So exciting times for God of War fans. Yeah. And maybe one day we will still get that Greek Saga remastered. You know, we can only hope.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, good stuff. And Sam, by the way, I'm curious. Can you try turning on your camera? Does it work now? No. Interesting. Thank you all so much for listening or watching. Watching myself, because Sam is a phantom. You can find us on YouTube. Again, Save the Game Media, Discord, Patreon, Extra Life. Links are on the show notes. Where can people find you, Sam?
Anywhere and everywhere at Sam Heaney, Heaney.
All right. And you can find me at Mr. Carter 9 on PSN. That's MRCARTERNINE, or Taylor TPR on Discord. So yeah. Until next time. Thank you all. See you later.
Peace.